and welcome to the Whale Talk podcast. So, episode number, I can't even remember because we stopped numbering them in the document. In this episode, we are covering tips for whale watching. We are covering the latest mass stranding among pilot whales. And we're covering a large baleen whale that is not quite symmetrical. And no, it's not a fin whale. I'm Cravone. And joining me as ever is a man who lives in a place with only two seasons, summer and December. It's Geofits for.
Hi, hi, hi. How's it going?
I think that Florida fact is correct.
It's pretty close. It's more
It's
January. It's more
January,
January than
January.
December that it gets cold, but yeah. And we just had a cold front come through this morning.
That's Well, wait. What did you just say? Cold
Yeah, we had a cold
regarding
front.
to Florida?
Yeah, I mean it'll be about 40 degrees tomorrow in the morning.
That's Fahrenheit. I should
Yeah.
clarify. Like 40 degrees for
Yep.
me. That's like wow. That's a bit warm.
hmm Yeah, I don't remember what that translates into in Celsius, like five, 5 degrees, something like that.
Probably around 5 to 8. I think off the top of my head. I think 32 is like a zero for us. I think.
4.44444. Yeah, 32 is
Okay,
zero. See, here's
close.
the thing. I'm gonna go on. I'm stealing this bit from a comedian, but I'm just gonna go on it real quick. The thing about Fahrenheit is when we're talking about weather and like the temperature you're setting the air conditioner or the heater, it is the ideal temperature scale to use. Celsius is great for scientific, for a lot of other things, but when it comes to communicating between humans, it's great because think about it this way: at 0 degrees Celsius, it's just freezing. Like that's cold, but like a lot of people can handle a lot lower than that. On the
Yeah.
other hand, 100 Celsius, you are boiling, you are dead. On the other hand, Fahrenheit, well, 0 degrees, yeah, it's below freezing, but and that's we'll give that minus 18 degrees Celsius. But like that's about the lower limit for most people. Like you don't, when you start getting into them single digits, you don't want to go outside. Likewise, 100 degrees, that's about the upper limit of when you want to go outside. You really start to feel like death when it's over 100 degrees. I mean, and you approach
What's
there in the high 90s. So for human conversation, Fahrenheit's just the better scale.
what's the human body temperature in Fahrenheit?
Um
It would not.
98.6.
Okay, I was going to say it would not shock me if it's like close to 100. So,
Yep.
I mean, personally, I prefer to use Kelvin every time so that you can then show on the news. It's 298 degrees outside. Have fun. And then
So
it's just like 22 degrees. Like,
yeah,
it's a
isn't
normal
isn't
summer.
Kelvin yeah, isn't Kelvin like the same scale, but it's just the 0 point is different?
Yeah, I think so. Zero. Yeah, I think it's the same as Celsius, but zero is like absolute zero.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you
So
never have to
I
deal with zeros or negatives.
I have some wow facts for you. But actually, before we get into wow facts, I should mention that during this podcast we are actually fundraising for WDC. And we'll get on to why a little bit later on in the podcast. But it's in celebration of Games for Waves' third anniversary. So, our whale facts. Did you know, Geofits 4, that no whale in recent memory has reached the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro? No, I said recent memory.
Yeah, that is a fair qualification.
I mean, I didn't research it, so I just
Yeah, who
assumed
knows?
it's correct.
Just assumed.
I've just imagined someone that's playing a mobile app game and it's just spending like so much money and they're like at the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro and it just completely breaks this fact. But we're talking about
Mhm.
the big animals, whales. We're not talking about people that spend more
Moneybag
money.
whales.
Did you know that the grey whale actually got its name due to the fact that it is a little bit grey?
Only a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's all grey. But okay, look, tell me, give me a species of whale that isn't. No, 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 no. Hang on, I'm going to be careful with how I say that because you're going to say bowhead whale. That's not grey, or blue whale. Blue whale's grayish
Irrawaddy
blue.
dolphin?
Irrawaddy dolphin is grey.
I thought they were wait, what's the pink one? Is that the
Uh,
Amazon
that's the
River
Amazon
dolphin?
River dolphin.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, but that's not called the grey river dolphin. It's called the Amazon River dolphin.
Fair.
Or the pink river.
Oh,
I think a name for it is actually generally the pink river dolphin.
okay, so I think I've told you this one before. Florida
Yeah.
Wildlife Commission, in their Gulf of Mexico saltwater fish regulations, they have 2 different gray snappers, GRAY and GREY.
Oh
Only one of them
no.
is actually gray in color, the other one is red.
Oh no.
Mhm.
And
Good luck.
I dislike the two spellings are great. We're not getting into that.
Yep.
So my last whale fact is a bit. It's a bit of like get your head around this because it kind of makes sense. A wolfin is a hybrid between a false killer whale and a bottlenose dolphin. A narluga is a cross between a narwhal and a beluga. Following me so far?
Uh-huh.
Now, don't let this confuse you because if, for instance, hypothetically, if a bottlenose whale and a humpback dolphin had a baby together, that does not automatically make it a humpback whale or a bottlenose dolphin. Although, by name, you can't even say it's not.
Mhm.
That now that
Mm.
that's that comments comments in the description on the YouTube thing, and if you're watching on Twitch, like what do you think about that? Gonna make them up.
I'm thinking it's a humpback bottlenose dolphin whale hybrid.
Why do you have to be so scientific about these things?
Eh.
The problem is that actually now seems plausible now.
Mhm.
Okay, so this month has been quite a. It was very initially a very slow news month, and then like in the space of a week, we got like 7 news articles. Um, we we've
Didn't know it
decided
happened.
we've decided to split this month's podcast into articles that can have some kind of discussion, and then like shorter articles where I'm just gonna like read out what I've got written as my notes and present the news, and then we'll go on from there. So our first topic is that 55 pilot whales during this month were stranded in Farewell, New Zealand. I saw this name by the way, and I thought that's ominous. Um, so from these stranded whales, rescuers managed to free most of them, with 6 of them passing away, unfortunately. But then there were repeated strandings, which left two deceased, and a further 11 were had to be euthanized due to uh, poor health from like restranding. Now, um, I saw multiple different sources on this, and they could not like agree on the number. So the numbers we have to take with a pinch of salt. Um, so like I've got written here like a discussion point is that we need extra research to understand mass strandings and restrandings. But
Mhm.
I feel like we say this every time there's strandings.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things in that research is your proper use of photo ID and tracking individuals and tracking, behaviors over, wide times and locations. Like as an example of that, the Sarasota Dolphin Research Program, some years ago, they undertook a project where they cross-referenced basically every bottlenose dolphin catalog that they could, mostly around Florida, um, and have now put that into into a database that's accessible for accredited institutions. But it has allowed them to see things like there was a dolphin that stranded in Tampa Bay that was helped by a local college there that has a monitoring network, and then 6 or 7 years later, I think it stranded again, but further down the coast in Fort Myers. And without that cross-reference database, they never would have been able to put one and one together that this, dolphin had stranded. And even beyond that, they've been able to track even through, passed down through generations, dolphins that have more like risky behaviors, like going around fishing boats and and those kind of things that make them and their descendants more likely to continue to have problems. But you can only see that through that kind of long-term tracking and identification program. And for the SDRP, they've been going since the 70s. It's the longest such project in the world, at least for bottlenose dolphins.
Yeah, when you've got repeat strandings, usually that's when it's a particular individual. Usually, that's a sign of like a health problem. And in a minute, I'm gonna talk about what I learned with the British Divers Marine Life Rescue when I trained to be a marine mammal medic. The I think there's not enough. Don't want to say there's not enough research, but pilot whales seem to be some of the most some of the more difficult species when it comes to strandings. I feel because you won't ever get just one pilot whale stranding. You'll get the whole group of them, and I think it's so far we don't really know why all of them like strand at the same time and why they'll all
Mhm.
restrand because this is most likely not due to some kind of health problem with all of them.
Mhm.
It's most likely due to some kind of social thing. So that's where I think there could be a lot more study, and maybe we should focus on some of the more species specific stuff, like work out why certain species. But first of all, work out if certain species strand more often than others
Mhm.
in a stranding event. Don't just look at the individuals, but like look at how many individual stranding events there are.
Mhm.
Um, but then look which species are stranding the most, and kind of look at maybe why. With baleen whales, it's less likely going to be to do with like sonar, I feel. But when it's things like pilot whales, it could very much be due to like military sonar. It could be due to underwater earthquakes or volcanoes or something seismic. Is often one of the leading theories on the cause of strandings. So I want to just quickly explain. So I did a marine mammal medic course back when I was at university, and I did this with the British Divers Marine Life Rescue in the UK. And so this is to anyone that finds like a seal, a dolphin, a whale on the beach stranded. The first thing you do is you call the emergency. You either you know who to call for strandings, so you call like a local stranding network, or if you don't know, if it's a beach that's got a lifeguard, like you tell a lifeguard, or you just call the emergency services and they'll know who to call. Typically, members of the public should not try to intervene because you can actually cause more damage. Um, but I'll explain kind of what the marine mammal medics will do. So when they arrive at the scene of a stranded animal, the first thing they'll do is get some towels, some wet towels, onto the skin of the animal so that they don't dry up. Because with this, if there's sun, they're gonna dry up, their skin's gonna crack, they're gonna get infected. An important thing is also for the safety of the rescuers. Never be near the blowhole, never be near the tail flukes or anything that can kind of move because
Mhm.
you can get injured.
That's a lot of weight, especially when you're talking about big whales.
Yeah, they're
But
very
even
strong.
smaller whales, even smaller whales or smaller whales and dolphins, that's a lot of that's a lot of weight that can move and come down on you and be dead weight,
A,
and that can yeah.
a pilot whale's weight is measured in tons.
Mhm.
Just just to put that in perspective with these particular species. And the other thing is you don't ever want to be touching the animal with your bare hands. And this goes for like anywhere that like you're kayaking, whale watching, or anything. Anytime that you're possibly going to be in physical contact uh, with cetaceans, don't touch them because the human body, the human skin carries bacteria that's dangerous towards these animals.
Mhm. And there's also a lot of you know, fish where when fishermen handle them, kind of the same kind of thing where, you can harm them by handling them. Sometimes it's even just like well, in the case of a lot of fish, it's, when they have, like, a protective, coating that, your
Yeah.
hands would strip that off of them. And then and conversely then would make them more susceptible to bacteria because that's part of their protective, you know, features. There we go, that's the word.
Yeah. So what the medics will do after they've got the animals protected, and sometimes they'll have parasols as well to protect them from the sun. Um, Now, typically, that's when you assess the situation. Like, is this in the tidal zone? If the tide comes up, will this allow this animal to be free? You really want that answer to be yes, because if the tide comes up, the animal like you don't really have to do anything except for just keep the animal like safe, keep the animal calm. The tide will eventually come back in, and the animal will be able to free itself. The one case with this that this could be a problem is if the animal strands on its side. Now, when it's stranded on the side, that's a lot more difficult because you like the rescuers will have to try and get the animal off of its side. And this can be dangerous to the rescuers. This can also be dangerous to the animal as well. Like
Mhm.
you imagine a male orca like it's on its side. You're trying to push over this like potentially like 9 ton. They're not 9 ton. I can't remember the
Mhm.
weight off the top of my head. You're trying to push it over onto like so it's like the right way up. You could very easily break the bones in its flipper by doing that.
Mhm.
So you have to be very careful of that. But if it's on its side, it will probably drown if the tide comes in. So that's why that's so important.
Well, and not just that, but, you think about, what environment is this body normally in? Well, it's normally in water, which has buoyancy,
Yes,
which,
that's another big thing.
so, like, when they're, getting rolled on their side and they don't have that, buoyancy, around them, their, organs can shift, as well. So, like,
Y-
I know that's a concern, especially the bigger the animal is.
When it's a large animal like that, like a baleen whale or like a sperm whale, um, the majority of the time, unfortunately, they have to be euthanized.
Mhm,
Because getting them back out to sea, that's not going to happen. It's just more humane to just like end their suffering.
Yeah.
So when I was doing this course, we actually did do an exercise where we assumed the tide wasn't going to be able to come in. So we had to actually reflow it manually. That's tricky because you have to get a thing underneath the animal,
Hmm.
considering these weigh in the tons sometimes. If they're pilot whales, that's very much more difficult than it sounds. Very
Yeah, it's
dangerous
kind of
as
hard
well.
to shimmy it under them.
Yeah. So you get this thing underneath, and then you basically clip it to two flotation devices, sometimes even four. So the water comes in, and like that'll just help them float.
It's the same kind of airbags that they use to, raise a like a boat that's sunk at a dock, off the bottom. Same
Yeah,
concept.
yeah,
Big old
so,
airbags.
yeah. So yeah, I wanted to use this news article as a chance to kind of explain kind of what happens in these circumstances. If it's a porpoise, for instance, if it's like a small porpoise, um, it's not unheard of for the rescuers to literally just like pick it up with a towel and take it to the water.
Yeah, if you're talking, if you were talking about like a, 6 or 800 pound, animal, that's a lot easier for you to have, 6 or 8, especially when you get all the interns that are, still in college, they're in 20s, they're working out, they just get a little lift in.
Yeah. Well, some of the porpoises are even lighter than that.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we'll go into our next news article, which our next news article is to do with humpback whales. We love our humpback whales here, and it's one of my goals this year to see a humpback whale. Um, and it's one of your goals from your predictions for me to be eaten by a humpback whale. Well,
Hmm.
actually, no, you said any whale, so
Yeah, anyway.
okay. That's I have to make sure I don't get eaten by a whale then. Uh,
Also, for reference, average for bottlenose dolphin is around 650 pounds, which would be 300 kilograms.
yeah, well, yeah, you need several people together. Yeah, because I only know in kilograms.
Yep. But I mean, that's still like if you had six or
Yeah,
eight, strapping young men, you got that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the bottlenose, they would probably like if the tide comes in, it'll probably be easier to just like let the tide come back in.
Mhm.
Typically, when it comes to like a bottlenose dolphin, um, for instance, they'll tie a tag around its tail that will come off like in several days. That way, if it strands again, they see the tag, they know it's the same one.
Yep.
So, about humpback whales. So, there was a study released in January where they found that humpback. So, how much do you know about bubble netting?
I've definitely seen videos of humpback whales doing it, and
It's,
it's pretty cool.
it's spectacular to see. So, bubble netting is when one or two or several humpbacks they'll they'll come up from the bottom and they'll rotate in a circle around a shoal of fish, and they'll be blowing bubbles out their blowhole. And these bubbles will act as a barrier for the fish, so the fish won't be able to get out. So you've got a net filled with bubbles, and then the humpbacks will come up and all just take a mouthful at once, scooping up many fish.
Hmm.
So it's a pretty spectacular behavior.
Yeah,
So this sorry,
I was gonna say, it's like creating a little fish pen, a little temporary fish pen.
yeah. So this study by Ray et al., released in January, suggests that this technique is actually socially learned. So and this was studying Canadian humpback whales. So socially learned means that they're not born knowing how to do this. They learn by observing and by doing. And quite a lot of orca behaviors, for instance, are socially learned behaviors. But this
Which
is
is
a
part of why
social,
we get the which is why part of why we get the distinctions in the different ecotypes.
yeah. So I wanted to touch on this and like discuss the importance that socially learned behaviors have on conservation. Which it's less so a discussion; it's more like because we don't really consider this as much as maybe we should when it comes to conservation. And I want to give an example, and it's to do with the population of crozet orcas, the population of orcas in the Crozet Islands in the Indian Ocean. Um, so, a few decades ago, they would actually beach themselves to catch seals. So that they would intentionally strand to catch seals. Nowadays, they perform a lot of depredation. They take fish off long lines, and it's now suspected by researchers that there there is no more of this behavior, that they do not do this behavior anymore. And it's been lost. It's they don't do this anymore. It's been lost. No one knows how to do it, so no one can kind of teach anyone how to do it. So let's say, for instance, we get rid of the longliners, then what? Like
Mhm.
that they kind of they have to find a new method of learning how to hunt. And I think it's very important to consider this in conservation. And we may touch on a subject a little bit later, we may not, on whether once we've had an impact on the environment, but nature's adapted to our ongoing impact, how we should pull that impact back, or even if we should.
Mhm.
So, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I think I'm pretty good.
All right. Okay, so the next topic is to do with Marineland Canada. Now, I actually reached out to WDC regarding this story. I did get a response, and I was going to feature it on the podcast. However, that information is now no longer valid because there's been an update since that email. There's been an update in this news. So during this month, Marineland Canada once again started threatening to euthanize its 30 belugas if they could not sell them to marine parks in the US. And since doing this, and they gave the Canadian and American governments a 4-day deadline, and so it was agreed that they would be granted a conditional export permit to move the 30 belugas to various parks in the US. Um, there were options with sea sanctuaries, but unfortunately, none of those options were taken up. And this is perhaps because like some of these sea sanctuaries were not ready yet.
Mhm.
And this now brings me on to this is maybe our first really big discussion point is the current model of sea sanctuaries sufficient for how many whales and dolphins will soon be needing this? Because we have Marineland France closed down, we have Marineland Canada that closed down, we now have Miami Seaquarium which is closed down, and I predicted Marina Mundo in Argentina will close down this year, and we do not have enough sea sanctuaries that are up and running to receive all these animals. So these are
Mhm.
animals that will most likely end up in captivity still, but then eventually what happens, because this is not good for the animals. Like the animals' welfare is not taken into account if they're just being shifted off somewhere else. It doesn't solve the problem to where we're trying to get them to not be in place where they're forced to perform, or God forbid, bred in captivity. But
And I would say to that that, like, probably the best thing that you can hope for, knowing that, you know, other options are going to take time and money and will, to happen, is I think the most best thing you can hope for is that these whales and dolphins get transferred into jurisdictions that are friendlier, to those goals, that, ban, breeding in captivity, that, actually enforce, safety and health and, care and all of that. I think in the short term, that's the best outcome that you can hope for with these closings.
yeah, so the question I was gonna pose uh, is so. I'm By the way, just to be completely clear, we're not saying that sea sanctuaries are a bad option. In fact, sea sanctuaries are the best option for captive-born cetaceans. But is the current model of sea sanctuaries what it needs to be? Do Is there a way that we can get sea sanctuaries up and running for less of a cost and quicker? And are these sea sanctuaries being built in the right locations?
And I mean, and how many sea sanctuaries are currently active in holding captive-born cetaceans?
To my knowledge, currently, there is, off the top of my head, there is only one, and that is the Beluga project in Iceland.
And that could be part of the problem, as well. That only having one example out there, I think there's still that, there's still enough of a question of, do sea sanctuaries actually work? Will they work for other, like, would they work for orcas? Would they work for bottlenose dolphins? Would they, work for other, species that are in captivity? I think that's an open question. So, you know, as hard as it may be to take it as an answer, the reality might be that it just needs more time to prove itself, and more money, invested to give it the chance to prove itself.
I actually came up with an idea the other day. Um, is that these companies that, okay, so let's say there's a marine park. They don't want captive stations anymore, so they're closing down their aquarium section, but instead they're like transitioning to like a water park with like slides and things like that. Is there potentially a way where they could finance some of these sea sanctuaries for publicity? That's what I thought the other day. Is like, could we encourage them to like the that they wouldn't be taking the responsibility of setting these sea sanctuaries up, but they would be like partially funding them.
Well, and I would think that in that kind of situation, that it wouldn't be a closing down of, the attractions, because the attractions would be a part of generating the money. Now, like, I could see, a company going, okay, all of the money that we generate from the cetaceans, we're going to put towards this, but also, how do you start subdividing that? But, like, because everything comes back to money, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's money and time in regards to these sea sanctuaries, because like I think the I think the predicted average right now is about 6 months from when a sea sanctuary secures the land permission, the funding. I think it's like predicted like 6 months. It's, that's what the Whale Sanctuary Project are predicting once they have sufficient finances. Just wondering, like, I'm just wondering, is there not like a better model for this? Um,
Well, and it's also hard when, you know, it's an emergency, there or in this case where Marineland, Canada has made it into an emergency, because even if you had all the money in the land and everything else set up, even if it was just a matter of we just need to set up the sanctuary area and then do the transport, so that we can get these 30 belugas, even that would, takes time.
yeah, it's a difficult topic. Definitely think sea sanctuaries are the way forward, but for me, the model needs to be looked at. See, like whether we can make it more efficient, and where this money comes from as well, because yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think the
it's
answer,
expensive.
well, part of the answer to making it more efficient is building more. Every single one, is assuming that, all of these different sea sanctuaries, share and, collaborate, every sanctuary that's built they'll learn lessons and they'll be able to apply those to the next, because the other side of it too is every single location is going to have its own challenges, its own differences. The bottom's different, the prey species are different, the space is different, the inlets and outlets are different, so like every single one of these places is going to have its own challenges, and that's always going to you know fight against efficiency. But the more that these get opened, the more efficient they'll become, the quicker that they'll become.
The issue of opening them though is that quite a lot of these, like they'll have people willing to invest if they know that there's going to be dolphins going to them. And that's I think the issue, especially that's been the issue of the Wild Sanctuary project and the orcas in Marineland, France, is that
Hmm.
they've needed like a confirmation that those orcas will go to the sea sanctuary before their investors will actually pay them the money to start the construction. Which
Yeah.
at the moment, honestly, who knows the Wild Sanctuary project? Um, Currently, they're still struggling to get the funding, and and I have not seen any source to say that they've started the construction yet. So not gonna speculate. I'm gonna wait and see what happens with that. So okay, shall we rattle through the short news before we get to the big topic that everyone has been wanting to hear about, whale
Yeah, let's hit
watching?
it.
So okay, so I'm gonna rapid fire through these. So in French Polynesia, um, this January there was a sighting of orcas that have been sighted, and this is actually confirmed that there is now an all year round presence in the region of orcas. And now nothing is known about these particular orcas, as they have never been studied uh, in that region, and they're potentially new visitors to the island. Also in French Polynesia, Association Oceana is working on a project to train artificial intelligence to monitor the seas and detect whales and dolphins. And then in real time, this will warn vessels that are close by, giving them a color code based on the distance between the vessel and the whale. And just a small little discussion thing here. This could, honestly, if this works out in the French Polynesia, this is definitely something that should be looked at elsewhere in the world,
Hmm.
particularly in boat heavy areas like the east coast of the US, and the west coast as well.
Well, and even if you just like if you could get it down to the consumer level, because like I'm thinking about
Private
um
boats.
yeah, yeah, like fishing boats, pontoon boats, the intercoastal, like well, because of what we're going to talk about, here in a bit, I've actually got this stat up from the Sarasota Dolphin Research Program, um, that a boat passes by a dolphin every 6 minutes. 1 in 20 dolphins in the bay has a scar from a boat collision, and 5% of dolphin deaths of known cause in the bay are from boat collisions. And that most of those happen in the weeks surrounding the July 4th holiday, which is a time when a lot of boaters are out on the water. So if you could get that down into the chart plotters and sonar systems that are or not sonar, but fish finders and whatnot, and bottom finders in those kind of consumer boats. You could save a lot of deaths that way. So yeah, that would be an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, it should be mentioned that like some of these are boat strikes due to people being careless, but some
Mhm,
of these boat strikes can be purely accidental, of people just not even knowing that the whale and dolphins are there.
mhm.
I'm actually going to mark that. Is that short enough for a short?
Probably is.
If we keep it under 3 minutes,
Trim out all the spaces and the ums and the O's.
I can't be bothered. Do you want me to spend 3 hours on a short? Okay, our final. Well, actually, no, not a final one. Wow, there's actually some more after. Um, so there was a study concluded during January on orca ecotypes around Hokkaido, Japan, and so it's been described as there being resident and transient ecotypes around Japan. Now, the transients were already described, but this was a genetic study, had determined that the second ecotype is a resident ecotype rather than an offshore ecotype. So before, they weren't sure on whether it was a resident or offshore ecotype that was there along with the transients, which kind of makes Hokkaido, Japan, like, makes me wonder how similar are those populations there to like the Pacific Northwest. So we have some film news. So there was a new film. Okay, by the way, I included this just to give the disclaimer. By the way, so there's a new film that came out in January called Killer Whale, and now I'm not going to say whether you should see this or not. This sounds like a Jaws kind of film, but like a poor one. So it is a film that is designed to be fantastical and a horror film, and it's about an orca attacking people. It should be noted, if you go and see this film, keep in mind that this is a film. This is not a documentary. This is not how orcas act in the wild. Um, there has never been a recorded death on a human by an orca in the wild. And last news is actually we've got some
Hold on.
good news.
Hold on. I have a question.
Sure.
Have you watched the movie?
I've not watched the movie yet.
Oh, okay. I probably will because I have a Saturday night group that watches horror film. Or watches horror every Saturday, so that will probably go on the list.
I'll probably watch in about 6 months or so.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean,
Maybe
if
while
you want
you're
to, if you want to
sitting in an
do,
Airbnb.
maybe, maybe. Well, you understood that assignment. I okay. On the side note, on the personal note, I should mention. So I'm going to the San Juan Islands in June, July. I'm going to be making a vlog, which will be uploaded onto the podcast YouTube channel. It's going to be quite a long vlog. It's going to include footage from my phone of myself, like me vlogging from my phone. It'll include photos and footage from my actual camera, my new Lumix. It'll also include footage from well, it's not by brand a GoPro, but it's kind of like a GoPro of when I'm going to be kayaking. So there's going to be a bit of everything, and So I'm going on a sunset tour. One of my things is going to be a sunset tour. There's also one tour that I'm going on where um I'm going to be on the boat with some pretty pretty important people.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to that.
And, it'll be like, it's really fitting that, Cravone, you will be here in the United States for July 4th as we celebrate
Oh, for
our
God's sake!
independence from half
Oh,
of
for
your
God's
ancestry,
sake!
which the other half of your ancestry helped us to do.
I the second you said July 4th, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know where it's going with this because don't think for a second the irony is lost on me.
I know, it's great.
The funny thing is I've done this before.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah,
actually
because it
been
was because
yeah,
you came the same time, was it 2 years
yeah,
ago?
yeah, I was there for the 4th. Now, granted, I won't see the parade. I'll see the fireworks for sure.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I won't see
I
the
mean,
parade.
the biggest thing about July 4th is, a lot of people are out on the water. There's lots of drinking, there's lots of eating food, and there's lots of blowing stuff up. Also,
I'm
baseball. Baseball is another big thing about the 4th of July.
I'm gonna be on the water for 8 hours that day.
Mhm. Well, hopefully you'll be able to get off the boat, have yourself a nice burger, maybe some baked beans, some potato salad, maybe even a hot dog if you want one, and then you can enjoy some fireworks while sipping a beer or just having whiskey.
Actually, I wonder for my Airbnb would I be? No, 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 no. I'm not going to be watching it from a window. I'm going to be out on the dock because they do the fireworks over the water,
Mhm.
which with the reflection off the water, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, you'll definitely wanna set your camera up
Yeah.
and just let
Oh
it run.
yeah,
But
I'll
yeah,
have to I'll have to film that. I
yeah,
just
there
realized I
was,
have to film that.
one of the well, the 2 best times I've ever seen fireworks was, one time I was actually coming home from my parents' house, um, and I was crossing this, bridge that crosses over a big river, so it's pretty high up, and, of course, Florida's pretty flat, and I happened to be going over it right at 9 o'clock, which is when every fireworks show everywhere starts. And so I like slowed way down. Like I was going like half the speed limit, and so was everybody else around me. Not that there were many people on the road, but I could just look out, and there was like six different fireworks shows that were going on, across cities.
That's
And
cool.
then yeah, and then the other one, the best place to go watch fireworks in my town is the hospital parking garage, because it's far enough from downtown that you avoid the crowds, and is high enough and not surrounded by any other tall buildings that you have a full view of not only the town's fireworks show, but one of the barrier islands, and then one of the barrier islands that's like, south of us. So it's like you can see a bunch of shows from there. And there was one time where there was a thunderstorm that was moving in, and so one of the fireworks shows there, the fireworks show further south, had started early because of that, and we watched as the rain overtook the fireworks and they slowly faded out. It was so cool. I wish I could have taken a video of it.
I I okay. This will be good practice for my new camera.
Listen, I told you, get out there with your camera now. Start using it
Oh, I
now.
have. I have.
Okay, good. 'Cause
I've
You,
been
you
using it
got
on a lot of
build up
birds.
those skills. Yeah, build up those skills.
Oh,
Birds
it's
are
fantastic.
birds are good practice for find, lock on, shoot, because
Yeah,
so many birds move a lot.
I'm loving the manual focus of it.
Hey, Dank. Yes, I did
Did
say
someone say
birds.
bird? Someone said bird. Yeah,
Mhm.
as long as no one said lizard. Um,
Lizard.
lizard.
Do not have that one on my soundboard.
Okay, so our last news article. So this is actually good news. So the North Atlantic right whales. Um, so they have actually shown some small growth in their population with several new calves. So the North Atlantic right whales, they're one of the most endangered species of whale on the planet. Um, there are an estimated 384 individuals of this species left, and this is a 7% increase from 2020. So this is a good reason to be cautiously optimistic, um, because it's optimistic to see them increase, but also we have to accept that some of the protections around this species uh, are being diminished, unfortunately. So it could be a false storm, but for the time being, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Um, so a little bit of background if you don't know about the North Atlantic right whales. So they were hunted to near extinction by whalers until the whalers decided, oh, let's spare the rest of the species when there's not that many left. Um, But the recovery since then has been hampered by so many other human issues, such as entanglements and collisions, and also boat noise related stress that prevents them from hunting. So they have specific recovery targets, which are not just unreasonable, but virtually impossible for them to hit. So these recovery targets are like projected of like what we want them to hit. Now, if they don't hit these targets, I mean, it's not a bad thing in a sense, because it means that we need to do more. It motivates people to do more when we're not hitting those targets. And the issue is that there are so few breeding age females left in this species. And this is why the recovery is so like so not even possible. Um, but
Mhm.
we'll take good news about this species when we get it.
Mhm.
Um, do you get uh right whales down as far down as Florida? Do you know?
Um, I don't think so. I know we get pilot whales, but I don't think we get, at least not in the Gulf. I'd have to look that up. But the one thing I just thought about because I actually saw it in a video a few days ago. The right whale is one of the reasons that a regulation was added to lobster fishermen in Maine, where basically they had to add a plastic ring between their lines so that they would break, so that the plastic ring would break if a whale got entangled in like the buoy line, instead of just being tangled and held down to the bottom, which
Yeah,
then creates its own environmental problem of now we get a bunch of lobster traps on the bottom, not just from from whales breaking them off, but even just under normal wear and tear that these plastic rings degrade and eventually break just when they're trying to pull the pots up. So I think we talked about this before, but it's one of those examples of a conservation uh you know uh initiative that has kind of a other downside environmentally as well.
yeah. So we are on to we're on to okay. So we're on to educate me now. A lot of people have been talking about this, like future plans for this month actually, and I'm gonna go ahead and mark it because we're gonna talk about whale watching. And we're gonna give some tips, guidelines, and just general advice. So, what should we start with first? Should we start with how to find responsible whale watching for operators? Should we start with boat
Hmm.
base? Should we start with shore base?
Let's
Let's
get the shore base. Let's get the shore
Yeah,
base
shore base.
out of the
Shore
way
base is a good
because
way to start.
that's the free method.
That's the yeah, that's the one where you don't have to pay money, um, except for a packed lunch
Yep,
and also
maybe a couple
petrol.
beers. Yeah.
Also a book. You have to buy a
Okay.
book.
Okay, it's the cheap option.
Okay, shall we go into why you might want to buy a book?
It
Okay,
depends on the
so
area.
well, yeah, actually.
Because
So
if I go out here to my bay, I need to scan because I'm looking for dolphins.
so when it comes to whale watching, the first rule of whale watching, the golden rule, the first rule. Remember, these are wild animals. They are not there, like they are not there because you want them to be there. They are there when they decide to be there. Which means that you have to prepare yourself anytime you go looking for whales. You have to prepare yourself to spend your entire day going out there, spending the time of your entire day looking for whales and finding nothing. You have to be prepared for that. No
I
one
was
sees stuff every time they go.
mhm. I was trying to find a way to translate they call it fishing, not catching idiom, but it's the same concept of, you're watching doesn't mean you're seeing. There we go. That's why they call it whale watching, not whale seeing.
Yeah. So when you're on a boat, the thing with a boat is that it moves and you can go towards where the boats are. And uh, you can go towards where the whales are.
Yeah,
But
and it's not just the mobility, but you also have the tools to locate.
when you're on land, like you have to rely on them deciding to be in the area. The location is very important when you um go to shore-based whale watching. You want a good view on the sea. Obviously, you want distance. You want a large area to scan, like large angle. So typically, a headland is a really good place to go because you've got about 270 degrees of movement of wow outtakes. You've got 270 degrees of like viewing space. Now,
Field
if
of
you
view.
yeah, field of view. There we go. Thank you. So if you do go to headland though, you have to be ready to expect strong winds because you're going to get winds from so many different directions. And the wind is going to be unbroken if it's traveled across the sea. It's going to be unbroken until it hits you. So typically, when we're in like cities and things like that, like we don't get so much wind because there's like buildings, there's like hills, things like that to block the wind.
Yep. And also in terms of location, it's, do your research ahead of time, find out, what whales and dolphins, you could see in the area, and then what kind of behaviors, what kind of, places should you go look. Like for me, because I have a lot of intracoastal waterways, I have different choke points, that are the inlets from the outside to the inside that are great places that I can often see dolphins because that's what I mostly have, around me. Or there's other places where I can see, the have a wide view of a large, portion of the surface of the, intercoastal waterway. So that's really, really it's do your research and, just figure out, I guess it's part of it's figuring out the behavior of the species that you're targeting. And, you know, there's certainly resources that you could look for in your local community and Facebook or Reddit or wherever people come together and even if no one's talked about it, you can go, hey, you ever see dolphins out here? You ever see whales out here? Where do you see them? And you may end up finding some places that you didn't expect that, yeah, you can see them all the time.
Very good point. So with okay, so with both types of whale watching, you also want to be careful of like the sun as well. The sun can be quite strong on the
Yeah,
water or on the shore. Definitely
water,
want sunscreen.
sunglasses, polarized sunglasses are a big thing, and
Mm.
plenty of sunscreen and a reapply sunscreen. That's the thing people don't think about or don't remember or don't know.
Oh,
You must
I have
reapply.
I have fallen foul of that so many times.
Carone, when you come over here, I'm gonna be insisting that you set hourly alarms for sunscreen. I don't need you turning into a lobster.
I'm gonna need to remember to do this whilst I'm kayaking.
Mhm.
So
And also to that point, use your phone as a reminder, set yourself reminders, not just for sunscreen, drink water, eat food. If you're
definitely take
especially if you're
water.
the type especially if you're the type that you'll hyper focus and you'll just be staring at the water for 4 hours and suddenly 4 hours has gone by and you need to go to the bathroom and really bad and you are hungry and you are thirsty and you're burned to a crisp and dying, you know, use those tools that you have to help yourself, please.
Yeah.
No sun sickness here.
And also make sure you've got another activity to do as well, because if you're going to be on the shore, like looking for whales and dolphins, and they're not always going to be there, take something else to do whilst, like, a book, like read a bit of your book, and then every couple minutes, like do a scan of the waterline.
Knitting.
Knitting is a good one as well.
Yeah, especially well, just really just anything that you could do with your hands, without really watching, a lot.
Yeah.
Also fishing, you could if you're, depending on where you're at, you can go, fishing. Like if you're
Honestly,
out on a
that's actually a good combination.
yeah, I mean, because that's whenever I'm, I mean, the like 95% of the dolphin sightings that I have had in my life have come while I've been fishing. Just
Uh,
and part of that's just because that's most of the time that I've spent out on the water.
a lot of the closest encounters of like whales and dolphins that you see on YouTube are from people that are just like amateur fishers.
Yep.
Um, so another good idea if you're on the shore is actually if you're in a place with a publicly available hydrophone, like put one earphone in onto that hydrophone. You don't need both of them in, just put one in, turn it down, because sometimes you might hear the whales before you see them. You might hear that they're in the area, then you'll be more alert to actually look for them. But at the same time, don't rely just on that, because sometimes they can be crafty. Sometimes they'll be quiet and pass by. So, but listening out will definitely make it a little bit more easier. And we should also mention how to actually spot various species. We'll go over that in a second. Um, so the other thing, and this is important. This is important. We'll go more into detail on like the boat side of this as well. If you're there whale watching, and there's other people whale watching, and you see something, or you think you've seen something, tell the others. Tell the other people that went whale watching as well, because you've made a big commitment to go look for whales from the shore, and quite often you'll be there and not see anything. They are making that same commitment. Like it's just considerate to other whale watchers. Like if you see something, oh, don't keep it quiet. Everyone's there to see stuff. So now if you're okay, so let's say you're either on shore or on a boat, and like you're looking for animals. So typically porpoises you won't really have to look out for. If they're there, you'll end up seeing them without even really trying. As long as you're looking at the water, you'll see them pop up every so often. They do not stay on the surface for long. They're just in out or out in. For dolphins, you want to be looking for like the dorsal fins as much as you can. So usually they're triangular, and usually they move in a certain motion, and usually they're black. So you're going to be wanting to look for black shapes at the surface of the water. If you're using binoculars, use binoculars at low magnification initially on the horizon. But if it's like the closer you get, you might want to consider scan without binoculars. Sometimes you'll see something that appears close to you, and you won't see it because you're zoomed in trying to look for stuff like miles in the distance. Now, if you're looking for whales, big thing with whales is they have a very big like spout when they come up to breathe. So that's what you want to be looking for with those, particularly like things like humpback whales. Minke whales, not so much. Minke whales, you don't really see the blow that much, but things like humpback whales, fin whales, especially blue whales, um, you'll see this from a distance. You'll see like a plume. It will look like a plume of smoke just burst out of the water. You see that, straight away. Look to see if you can see something dark underneath it, because most likely that's going to be a whale.
This is also where, polarized, glasses also start to come into play because then that's letting you see down into the water more.
Yep. So onto boat-based whale watching. So we'll talk first of all about responsible whale watching tours. So Gio, do you want to take charge on this one?
Yeah, so at least for from the so sorry. Sarasota Dolphin Research Program, their guidelines are actually fairly simple for dolphins, in our area. They say please stay at least 50 yards away from dolphins and slow your vessel when they're nearby. If you want to watch the dolphins, be sure to put your motor in neutral and don't engage your prop until the dolphins have moved on, because obviously the props are the main thing that end up doing damage to dolphins. And then another thing that they add on is another way to help dolphins is to wear polarized sunglasses and post a spotter on your boat, especially as you move through shallow waters. Polarized glasses will help cut through the water's glare, and a second set of eyes will help increase your chances of seeing the wildlife in your path. I'm kind of surprised actually there that they don't specifically mention manatees because that's obviously around my parts another animal that's threatened by boats. And going back to what we talked about with the AI identification,
Yeah.
being able to identify manatees would be amazing as well. And where I am, but and thankfully a lot of our shallower and especially narrow waterways around here are wake zones. So sorry, are no wake zones. So boaters are supposed to travel through them at slow speeds anyways. But we do have a lot of fast moving boats and jet skis, sea-doos, that kind of thing as well. um so it's really just about being aware, aware and in control of what you're doing, if you're driving a boat. um and these are wild animals. They're going to do what they're going to do. Yeah, so but if you're taking your proper precautions, in advance and being safe and cautious, then you are improving the chances of not hurting our wildlife.
So when you're looking for whale watching tours that are responsible whale watching, some of them, okay, so a good way of knowing that they're responsible is that they'll have these guidelines listed. Now, these guidelines will be different per state, per region. Were you
Mhm.
going to say something?
Oh yeah, and well, it's like, for me when I went out on a dolphin watching trip, I specifically looked, did they quote, the Sarasota Dolphin Research Program or Moat Marine, which is our other big marine animal uh, research center here. And because I want to see that that the operators of the boat, are in tune with, our local experts and following their, suggestions and being safe. And I think, generally all of them, do, because they recognize that the health of the population is the health of their business.
Yeah. So you also want to see if these whale watching tours have naturalists on board. Typically, that's a good sign that they're going to be whale wise, as it's referred to. You want to look through reviews as well, and make sure like the reviews say that the captain kept a respectful distance. Uh, there's certain ways that you are meant to maneuver a boat when you're with whales and dolphins, and that is always going to be parallel. You don't want to be chasing whales and dolphins from behind. You don't want to be cutting them from the front, and you want to leave especially longer distances to calves. And this is like general pretty much anywhere. In most places in the world as well, it is illegal to swim with them. There are some places and some charters in the world that do allow this, but you really need to look that up. But most places it'll be illegal. Um, so when talking about boat-based whale watching, we so this is the expensive whale watching, and it gets expensive not because of the cost of one trip, but because if you really want to see stuff, you have to go on multiple trips. Um, if you're like, unless you're going for just a day, book multiple trips because there are days where you won't see anything. There just won't be anything on the water, and there are some tour places that will guarantee you whales. Now, we need to explain what guaranteeing means when it comes to whale watching. If a company guarantees you whales, that means if you don't see whales, they're not going to refund you. It means that they're going to offer you a free, no, they're going to offer you another trip for free. And
And I personally like that policy.
yeah,
I think that
so
that is a very fair policy.
it's very fair, but just go into that knowing that that's what the guarantee means. If you're only going for once and you're only going for one whale watching trip and like you see guarantee, you think, oh, I'll definitely see whales then. Keep in mind that you have to go back there again if you don't see whales. If you actually like want that guarantee. But it'll be free the next time you go.
Guarantee, and see, I think the thing here, and I think even in well, actually, I don't see where it is in this. Never mind. But we are also talking about a very specific spelling of guarantee that's not the same as I guarantee that this will happen. It is a guarantee
Yeah,
that,
we guarantee whales.
yeah, it's an insurance
Well,
policy.
yeah,
It's essentially an
it's
insurance
legal term.
policy. Yeah, exactly. It's a legal term.
So okay, so this next note that I made, and we've already covered this slightly. When using powerful binoculars, don't use maximum magnification unless you've already seen the whales.
Yep.
Because you like if you zoom in, you're lowering your field of vision, and you want to have as much field of vision as possible when scanning the water for dorsals.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act. Just like with using your camera, you want to start, kind of zoomed out so you got that. And then once you spot, lock in.
Also, educate yourself before going on the trip on what kind of species you can find and how to actually spot them. Because if you don't know what species are there and you don't know what you're looking for, that can be a bit more difficult. If you know, for instance, that you've got minke whales here, like you know not to look for a bloat because you're not going to see it because it's very small. And again, when you're with other people on the boat, you see something, don't keep it to yourself. Whale watching is not a competitive activity. You're not keeping score. You're not having a scoreboard of who saw whales, and you're not tracking who saw them first. Like you don't
It's
get
a
extra
collective
points.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be a collective
it's a
experience.
social experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you
Now,
see something, say something.
now, another thing is communicating properly as well. If you do see something, so the typical way that you refer to things is in as a clock. So if you imagine the front of the boat is 12 o'clock. So right from the front of the boat, 3 o'clock, behind the boat is 6 o'clock. So call out that kind of bearing roughly of where you saw 'em. And if you're going on like a public whale watching tour, call this out to the other whale watchers, but especially call this out to the naturalist and captain. Because if you've seen something, guarantee you the next person that sees stuff will be the captain. Guarantee you, because they have experience on the water. So another thing that also mention landmarks like other boats as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because over there is really not descriptive.
Yeah, so if you point and say over there, that's not gonna work. Say 2 o'clock, left of the black boat. That's a lot more useful.
Yep.
And if you can identify the species with confidence, then yeah, mention what species you think it is. Because that also help with identifying them as well. Because there's some species that will submerge for longer periods of time, some that will submerge for short periods of time. If you're on a boat that's like you're looking for sperm whales and you see the flukes of a sperm whale, do mention that because you know you see the flukes of that sperm whale, you're not going to see that sperm whale again for the next hour.
Mhm.
You just are not. They lift their tails up. The only time you see the underside of the tail and the only time you can individually identify them is when you see their tail lift up, which is when they're going on a big dive.
Yep.
So
You ain't gonna see him for a while.
yeah. So the other thing is like other terminology. So the stern is the back of a boat. The bow is the front of the boat. Um, port is the left side, and starboard is the right side. Now I'm gonna give you a line to recite to remember which side is left and right. And so port is always on the left and it's got a red light, and starboard is always on the right with a green light. So a way to remember this is there's a little bit of red port left in the bottle. So you've got red color, port, the bearing, and then left is the side of the boat. So
Mhm.
that's a good way of
Yep.
remembering it as well.
Um, I don't know. I don't. So for channel markers, I don't. Well, I don't know if it's different uh, in Europe versus in the U.S. The saying I always remembered was "red right returning." So when you are returning to returning home, the red markers should be on your right. So and that can be useful when you're out on the boat because that'll let you see where the channel is if you're going through a channel, you can know, if you're coming in, then red will be on the right, green will be on, on you should be to the left of that. Um, and then if you're going out, swap it around.
Yeah.
Some other boat terms, transom, which is the uh, basically the part of the boat that goes across the stern, and usually what the engines will be mounted on, if they're outboard motors. The rail, which would be the railing all the way around the boat. If you're going to throw up over the rail. Don't throw up in the boat. Don't throw up inside the boat. Don't throw up in the bathroom, which is called a head. Um,
That's
all,
another term I forgot to mention. The
yep,
toilet is called the head.
yep. That's the head. Um, the keel is the ridge down, or the center line of the bottom of the boat. Um, I
And
know I
note
had a couple others.
so a
Uh,
note
ah-
on sea. So
oh,
I
seasickness.
yeah. So
Hmm.
a note on seasickness. If you do start to feel seasick, go outside.
Yep.
Like be on deck. That's the
Go
best place to be.
outside and look at the horizon.
Yeah. Do not look
Um,
down. Do not look down
yeah,
when you're seasick. You will be sick then.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
stand at the rail, and like I said, if you're gonna throw up over the rail.
and
No
take
one
deep
wants to.
breaths.
Yeah, like no one wants to clean up your throws ups, and it's gonna be just fine, and you're gonna feed some fish, too.
I was I
So
was
like,
thinking, do I mention that?
yeah, it's not gonna go to waste. It's gonna hopefully you're not eating things that aren't gonna biodegrade. I would hope, you know. um, The other thing I'll say to seasickness as well, and um, disclaimer: I am not a doctor. This is just my personal anecdotal experience. But I have seen so many people that will just take Dramamine the morning of, like when they're at the dock or when they're heading out, on the boat. And in my experience, if you take it then, it is too late. For me, what I personally do is I'll take a Dramamine the night before when I go to bed, which also it being, making you drowsy. That's, kind of a nice side effect in that case. And then I'll take another one in the morning. And if I do that, I'm fine. If I don't, I might not be fine.
Yeah. I personally I get seasick, and so what I use are wristbands. So they work on pressure points on your wrist, and I don't know how, but they stop you getting sick. And they also work for other types of nausea as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it's all like the body is intertangled in so many different, different ways. It's absolutely, crazy.
Yeah. Um
Oh,
so
also, when you're moving around, obviously be careful what, because the floors are going to be wet. Most of the time they have a non-slip, coating, but that's not perfect. So especially if you got rough seas, 3 points of contact,
I was
have.
just about to say that.
Yep, if you're taking if you're gonna take a step, two hands, even if it's just like held up against like one hand is just held up against the wall of the cabin, you know, 3 points of contact if you're in rough seas, and that'll
Yeah.
save you.
Yeah, always have a
No one
hand
wants to get
ready
hurt
for the
out on a.
boat.
Yeah, no one wants to get hurt out on a boat. No one ever has to have the Coast Guard come out. Like that's worst case scenario, um,
If you have to
and really expensive.
if you have to two-hand a camera whilst on the boat, find somewhere to sit. Find
Yeah.
somewhere to sit down to do that. That's the safest way to do it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point as well, especially with binoculars as well. One thing to be careful about, when the boat is moving around and you are looking through binoculars or through your camera, that means you don't have visual reference on what's, going on around you. So just be careful and like, yeah, I mean, and just in general, if you can sit, it'll save you some wear and tear on your body anyways.
Oh, another big thing which I don't think a lot of people realize, if you're going on a boat and it's even slightly a windy day or it's a fast boat, um, and you're wearing a hat, yeah, that hat's gonna end up in the sea.
Yeah, turn it
So
around backwards.
yeah, make
Um,
sure you've got it secured.
you know what's also great on
Have a
a
hood
fast
over it.
yeah, well, yeah, that's a good call too. But it's great to have, especially on a fast boat on rough water, is beanbag chairs.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so like this was probably like close to 10 years ago. So I was you know in a little bit better shape than I am now, though that's not much. But like I know I got saved one day because like we were running you know 30, 40 knots in 4 to 6 foot seas. So we were constantly slamming down on waves over and over, and it's just jarring. And having those beanbag chairs that just cushion you, oh, it was so nice.
It's also
But I
worth
have had,
mentioning.
I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
say, I have had trips though where I've been out on that have been really rough, and like, yeah, my muscles and knees and ankles and hips felt it the next day because you're just shock absorbering all day.
It's also worth knowing as well, which I forgot to put this in the notes. It is much colder at sea than it is on dry land. Much colder.
Depends.
Well, I mean, it depends on what.
Okay, July, August, here in Florida, I will not go offshore. And the reason for that is offshore in the summer, there's less clouds, and oftentimes there's very little wind, and the sun is reflecting up off of the water. So all of my like worst heat
Oh yeah.
times have always come in July and August out on a boat offshore, even more so than being, onshore, even going back to a kid when I wasn't very smart about, being outside 98-degree weather.
It's also worth remembering that if if you are going somewhere that's not Florida, which is unbearably hot, and it is cold at sea, and it is if it's sunny, but it's like slightly windy because you're on the boat, and it's colder. Please remember, you can burn when it's cold.
Yep.
You can
You can also
absolutely burn when you're cold
y-
when it's cold.
you can also burn when it is overcast.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that's happened to me
Clouds
before.
do not block UV radiation, turns out.
So, do you have anything more on whale watching?
I think that's about it. I mean, I guess the only other thing is, yeah, check the weather and also understand that sometimes weather is going to prevent a trip, and that's, can't control it. So there's always going to be certain seasons and times of the year that are better than others. Like for me, now is not a great weather time. It's great temperature wise, but in terms of winds and sea, it's not a great time to go offshore in the summer. It's a great time to go offshore for winds and seas, but the temperature, blows.
Yeah,
So, but check the temperature, check the conditions, and bring gear for different situations. Like have a rain jacket, have, something that's warm and waterproof, have even bring some hand warmers, but also like if it's going to be hot, make sure you have enough water. Bring a little like electric fan, like a little hand fan. That's
it's really important
excellent.
to take water with you.
Yeah,
If
one
you
of
get
actually
thirsty out there, you can't get water unless you've
yeah.
taken it with you.
All right, I got my last tips and tricks, and this really is just for any kind of hot situation where you're going to have a cooler with ice in it. So, night before, take some washcloths or like little hand towels, get them damp, fold them up, and put them into a Ziploc bag. Seal the Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer. Let them freeze overnight. When you go to get ready in the morning, do everything, throw those into your cooler, let them chill. They will thaw out, but that's fine. When you get into the height of the afternoon, and especially like when it's like, okay, now it's time, we're heading back, so I'm gonna go sit down in the cabin, get into the shade. you're gonna be covered in salt from sweat and your sunscreen, and you're just gonna feel gross. And that is such an amazing time to pull out that extremely cold washcloth and be able to wipe off your face, wipe off your arms and hands and legs, and just clean yourself, give yourself kind of a little, camp shower. And like I tell you, whenever I remember to do that on those hot trips, I feel so much better at the end of the trip from having to, from just getting that little refreshing, feeling and being able to feel a little bit, you know, not as gross, for that hour or 2 hours that we're driving back in.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna play Orcawatch now. We've got a couple bits, couple shorter bits to get through after. Um, our last topic on the thing we're gonna leave for another month. Um, since we're already running quite long. So, so I'm gonna play Orca Watch, which means it's a break for us. So you know it's going to be an interesting Orc of the Month that's going to be outdated the second it's finished being pre-recorded. When you start recording, and as you start recording, you see another sighting come in. So January was a pretty busy. In fact, not just pretty busy, a very busy month with regards to orca sightings in the Salish Sea. But I'm gonna start away from uh, the Salish Sea just for a moment, because currently it is orca season in Bremer Bay, Australia. Now, our Orca of the Month has been chosen by the community to be WA008, aka Split Tip. Now, Split Tip is referred to as the Queen of the Canyon, and this is in reference to the Bremer Bay Canyon. And so she is from the Bremer Bay population in Australia and gets a name from the fact that her dorsal fin has a large cut in it. It is unknown where this came from. Um, it could be both. It could have even possibly been another animal, like a prey species that might have done this. We really just don't know. She is the assumed matriarch of the family, and her family is actually the biggest pod in the Bremer Bay Canyon. Thus, she is referred to as the Queen of the Canyon. She is often the one that initiates hunts, and this population they hunt some pretty big prey, some of the biggest prey you could say. Now, if you want to learn more about this population, I have a video coming out on the Whale Talk podcast channel in the next few weeks from when I'm recording this. I'm recording this on the 4th of February, 2026. And that video should tell you all you need to know about the Bremer Bay orca population. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this video. It's the most work I've ever put into a video ever. And I've gotten to chat with some amazing people whilst making this. This video has been a bit of a journey. So uh an orca that I always want to mention during Orca Watch, but that I virtually never do get to mention now, is our adopted orca with the Whale Museum, L90 Balena. Um, Basically, she's not been seen. Uh, L-Pod hasn't been seen in January, to my knowledge, and they were the least seen pod in the entirety of last year. So of the southern residents. So yeah, they're somewhere. They're somewhere. They found somewhere where there is food, and if they're eating there, but we're not seeing them, well, at least they're able to eat. So that's an important thing to remember. As for the other southern residents, so you may know that last month there was a calf born to K-Pod, K47. Um, as of making this video, there's no reports that there is anything wrong with this calf. So this calf, for the time being, seems to be going strong. K-Pod was spotted throughout this month. Same with J-Pod. Both J and K-Pod were spotted throughout January. I would give it exact dates, but there's actually just so many. Um, and sometimes they were spotted together as well. In fact, J-Pod were actually heard last night on the 3rd of February. Uh, However, they were not seen. They did a Houdini. they they somehow passed completely undetected visually and only being heard over a hydrophone. So that was pretty special. And on the 23rd of February, actually, J-Pod was seen, spotted, but on the hydrophones, Bigs could be heard. So this was a bit of an interesting interaction, to say the least. Bigs are usually the ones you can't hear, and the southern residents are the ones you can hear. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunate. Why did I say unfortunate? This time it was weird. You were looking at on the web camera. You were looking at JPod, but you were hearing Bigs. This is a this is kind of interesting. It makes me wonder, like, why could we not hear J-Pod? Because J-Pod are typically louder than the Bigs. So I have to wonder, is it because the Bigs were being vocal that the J-Pod just because they like to just take no notice of each other. But I do wonder if one's vocalizing, that means the other might be silent. I I That's just my own potential speculation of like maybe I'm reading too much into it. Now on to Bigs. This big section is long. So I have an issue with the way that I present Big's sightings in Orcawatch, and that is that I focus on several families, but I tend to kind of like skip over those I'm not focusing on. So I'm gonna try and make a bit more of an effort to focus on everyone now. And if there is a family or a matchline that you want me to focus on, put in the comments, and I'll add them to the watch list. Currently, the watch list are the T65Bs, T36Bs, and T36. T99, T99Bs, T137s. I know, all the same family, right? T60D and T60E. And I would also put on there that I think I'm kind of tracking indie now as well as the T109A2s, because I saw them personally before. So T36Bs were spotted early in the month with the T37s. I believe the last spotting of them was the 9th. I might be mistaken. Now, I realized there were so many more big sightings than I initially thought when I went back through just now through all of the various sightings that there were. Um, the T99s were spotted on the 13th of January, and T99B was with her mother's pod. Some of you might know I'm doing a bit of a citizen science project at the moment. I it, it's most likely not going to amount to anything. If I don't find anything, then it won't amount to anything. So I'm currently tracking sightings of T36, T36A1s, T36As, obviously, T36Bs, T99s, T137s. I'm tracking all the signs of those, tracking which individuals were present, um, positively ID'd. I'm running into kind of, and I'm doing this based on public sightings data, and I'm running into some issues. I will admit where I'm like, okay, how reliable is this source? Those that can individually identify particular individuals, okay, I wouldn't be pretty confident that they are capable of doing that because they say it with enough confidence. But then they'll mention particular individuals um, from a pod. So let's say you've got the T-137. So they'll mention Jack. They'll mention his sister, but won't mention the other two. And I'm like, well, does that mean that they're not there? Because sometimes people just mention the two that they really focused on, even though the others were there. So I'm kind of having a little bit of an issue of that. So I'm working through it. But yeah, I if I find some kind of weird trend and like then maybe I'll look into that. But currently just collecting the science data on that and just see what I find really. I don't really have a question for it. I just see what I find, see if there's something unusual going on, and then maybe look into it a little bit further. And T99B is a big focus of that. It's not just that she's my favorite Sailor Sea Orca or our channel's mascot. Yay, channel mascot. So the T137s were also spotted in the middle of the month with the T36A1s. So the T36A1s, T36A1 is the niece of T137. Uh, that's assumed. That's not factually confirmed, but that's assumed. Um, so we also saw a a very rare whale this month. T166A1 was seen on the 1st of January by the Centre for Research and had to actually be independently identified by basaltology. Um, this orca is that rare in the Sailor Sea, so where Centre for Research could not actually with confidence fully ID this individual, and basaltology, um, headed up by Jared Towers, had to do the ID on that. And so they were with T37, no, scratch that, T73 Cs and T75 Cs. And they are seen like once every few years. So other highlights. So the T19s were also spotted on the 10th of January, and they were spotted with this doing a sea lion hunt. This was a long, like 30-minute hunt, and I think there's videos of this online. But this is a from what I hear, this was a big highlight of the month. Um, T87 was spotted the 12th. I don't know why. Oh, I know why I marked this as something separate. T87 is one of the oldest male orcas in the world. I believe 62 years old at least. Um, but yeah, definitely. Well, I think there is actually one that's older in the Scottish residents. I think John Coe from the Scottish residents. Unfortunately, a functionally extinct population. Um, I believe he's old. I think he might actually be the currently the oldest known male orca in the world currently. Um, so T87 was seen with another male, T49A2. And so there were some other visitors throughout the month. Now I'm gonna go through these. T77s, T34s, T90s, T124A2s, T46s minus T46B. I need to look up T46s. I don't know them that well, but they pop up a lot in these sightings. So I need to learn how that family works. I might just make for March. I might make our poll for Orc of the Month because I really want Jack to be Orc of the Month at some point. So it's literally going to be a straight up poll: Jack or T46. And then I'll be able to do the deep dive. So we also have the T123s, T100Bs, and T100E, T85s, and T122. Now, a lot of these sightings. So I use multiple sources for these sightings. Um, I use reports from the Center for Whale Research, um, anything that any information I get from Whale Museum, Orca Conservancy, Orca Behavior Institute as well. Um, I have listed on here Orca Lab, but Orca Lab is I don't I don't check Orca Lab for Bigs updates unless it's the summer seasons because they don't post their blogs during the winter. They only post their blogs during the northern resident season. Um, but the big one, I also our Puget Sound, our Wild Puget Sound Discord. I also use that as well, and Orca Network as well. Orca Network is the big one that particularly this month that has been the big one. Big. That I went through this. I went through these sightings just before recording this and realized there are so many big sightings that I had not noticed. So there was also a new calf, a new big calf spotted in December with the T52s. No, T252s. Um, this we missed from the podcast because I think the sighting of this came out after we had recorded. We recorded the last podcast on New Year's Day, so um, there was also one final report of orcas from Oregon that was the T234s, T236, and T308. Now these all have Californian transient uh, identifications as well. So they're double ID'd. So these typically are found a lot more south than Washington State. But I thought that was interesting because I've never seen a sighting report on Orca Network regarding Californian pigs. Uh, so yeah, so that was Orcawatch. Hope you enjoyed. And back to the studio. Also, I'm not pre-recorded. So welcome back, Geofits.
Yeah.
After my
Well,
little,
16 minutes of not talking, the phlegm
I
kind of built up.
I okay. I'll be the first one to say that wasn't my best Orca watch. I wanted to keep it short, but then I realized it's kind of too short, so I started listing off all the families, which I said to myself previously, I'm not going to do that. Then I did.
Mhm.
I was running out of time to actually pre-record that yesterday. By the way, it's like so many things that happen. So we're gonna just do a couple last segments today. So I just want to first of all give a shout out to Games for Waves, who are they're a part of World Dolphin Conservation (WDC), who we are actually fundraising for right now. Although by the time this gets to YouTube, the fundraiser will be finished, and so we're honoring their third anniversary. And so, if you don't know what Games for Waves do, they collaborate with content creators, streamers, game developers, and even put on their own Steam sale um, to fundraise for WDC. And they do a fantastic job at this, and they increase a lot of awareness as well. And they have this role, which is referred to as a pod creator. And a pod creator, there's some obligations with this role, and it's basically a pod creator is someone that's going the extra mile to raise money for them. And I I have been very fortunate to be chosen as a pod creator for the next year. So I'm really, really excited about that. Um, do we have an applause sound effect? Gio's
I
looking
don't
for
know if
one.
that worked. I don't know. I
Uh,
was trying to clap into my mic, but I
Fair
don't know
enough.
if that's working. I mean, I might have to talk while giving the applause. That might be how I
Yeah.
defeat the noise filter.
Oh, by the way, I should say it's not an accident that I'm wearing a Games for Waves t-shirt. It's not by accident that. But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be able to do more for them this year as well. Um, I'm I'm really looking forward to World Ocean Day. That's a topic it's they're raising money for a cause that is I'm very, very much on board with that cause. Uh, for that, I can't say more than that.
And remind everyone what day that is.
So that will be World Ocean Day. That will be in June. I don't know have the exact dates, but it'll be early June.
Alrighty.
So you look up World Ocean Day, you should be able to find World Ocean Day. It's probably going to be around then, presumably. So we have one last segment, which we should have probably covered a little bit earlier on. Um, we have an ace. Where's my necklace going? We have an asymmetrical baleen whale as our lesser known species. Now, this is a
Hold
baleen.
hold on, and just as a reminder for everybody, the way we come up with the lesser known species is usually I will ask Kervone a series of questions that will then lead me down the taxonomical tree of whales and dolphins, and I usually, look for something that, at least for me, hasn't popped up, so I don't know of it, or just in general looks like it's interesting, or a range that's away from where me and Kervone happen to live, and are somewhere on the other side of the world. Because at least for
Or,
us, that means it's a lesser known species.
or sometimes it's basically you give me the name of a species that you want to learn about, and then I'll do the research on it.
Yeah, that's the other side of it too.
Which is honestly a good way to go. So, as always, a lot of the information that is presented in this segment does come from the Whale and Dolphin Conservation website. Um, so, we're going to be talking about the Amara's whale. Now, you may not have heard of this whale. In fact, you probably haven't heard of this whale. So, this whale used to be thought to be a variant of the bride's whale. Where have we heard
And
that before?
my favorite whale, the Rice's whale.
Yeah, I think the bride's whale is everyone's favorite whale to get mixed up with other new species of whales.
Yes,
You see a
they're the
baleen whale, it's a bride's whale.
well, because bride's whale is like the generic
It's a whale,
NPC of baleen whales.
and the bride's whale is like you
It's the
show
default skin.
is the default skin. You log into the MMO of the ocean and you okay,
Yep,
so
you're just a bride's whale.
you
You might
get
not
a
actually be, but they're gonna call you Prince
well,
Whale.
hang on. If we're talking about an MMO for the ocean, like your starter classes, what would those be? Um, Starfish,
Mhm.
bottlenose dolphin. I mean, that's the generic dolphin. Bride's whale, and I guess lionfish.
I
Uh,
mean, sardine.
I'm sorry. No, we'll pick another fish. Um,
Sardine.
Sardine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
No one likes lionfish.
yeah, I mean, like, you gotta start as an herbivore in,
Yeah.
or a prey species.
Yeah, and you can't start as an orca. That's DLC. You got to pay for
Oh, yeah.
that.
Orcas. Oh,
Orca
yeah,
DLC.
you gotta get the Abyss, DLC that lets you play the humpback whales, or is it? Or wait, hold on,
No,
or is it
sperm
the
whales. The
sperm whales?
sperm
Sorry, yeah,
whales,
sperm whales.
the giant
It lets
squid.
you, yeah, giant squid.
You get a
You
skin
know, and
for you get another skin for the giant squid. It's called the colossal squid.
yep.
Colossal squids they have these like barbs or something. I saw a video on this. They have something kind of crazy on their tentacles.
hmm
Yeah, yeah. You also get the football fish in the abyssal deals.
hmm
Oh, I I'm playing a new game on Saturday. It's it's an aquatic city builder. I'm so excited for it.
Ooh, that should be
I'm
fun.
I'm not touching it. It's I get to play it before anyone else. I'm excited
hmm
about it. I love my sea
Nice.
builders. Anyway, back to the brideswear. I mean the Amara as well. The new skin for the brideswear. So it's not a new skin. It's a different species. So the Amara's whale was officially described in 2003 and was first sighted in the wild in 2015. So 12 years after. Um,
Assuming it was described from a carcass that had washed up.
yes, typically that's the case. And so when I do my video on type D orcas, I'm going to be doing it. So you remember when we talked about what can you gain from like a stranding
hmm
information? I'm going to do a super abyssal depth guy like dive into that. Um, I reached out to an old lecturer of mine who is like in charge of a strandings network. So might be looking into that at some point with the type D walkers.
Neat.
So the Amara's whale reaches up to 12 meters in length, and they are rorquals. So rorquals, they are baleen whales, part of Mysticeti. So reminder, whales and dolphins, they're not split into whales and dolphins. They're split into toothed whales, baleen whales. So baleen whales are Mysticeti, and rorquals, they are the great whales. They are like they all have this similar body plan, like the generic. They all look like bride's whales, just some are a little bit longer.
Some are a little bit shorter.
The one day we will do lesser known species, and it will be bride's whale.
Yep.
Oh, by the way,
hmm
July's lesser known species is definitely going to be an orca.
Oh yeah.
just just to throw things out.
Actually, I feel like for that you should do a lesser known ecotype.
Offshore, offshore orcas, offshore. Fingers crossed. I see offshore orcas. That,
That'd be cool.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I'll do it. I'll do it.
There you go.
I'll do it. Lock it in. That was one of my predictions for this year as well.
Yep.
So the range for the Omura as well is well, there's not that much known about them, or even their population size. No one knows how many there are. But they have been spotted somewhat close to Madagascar. They've been seen to live in pairs or on their own, but sometimes there's about 5 or 6 potentially individuals spotted in the same area, but kind of spread out. So they'll be in the same rough area, but they won't be mingling. So they eat mostly krill and small fish, and they do not seem to be migratory, which you know this is this is starting to sound a little bit more like another lesser known species that we've covered before. That's
hmm
non-migratory. Just keep count how many times Geo tries to say rice whale. So,
Yep. They like the Gulf.
yeah.
It's
so
a nice place.
so Amora's whales are very long and thin. So they're super streamlined. And we mentioned at the start of the podcast that we're going to be covering a whale that is asymmetrical. So this whale is asymmetrical in its coloration, with the right side of the underside of the jaw being white and the other side being dark. And actually, fin whales are actually also asymmetrical. I don't know if you knew that, Gio,
Yeah,
where
isn't their
they have a
fin slightly
stripe.
offset?
They
Oh,
have a
is it?
stripe on one flipper and not the other,
Oh,
so they know which way
is it
is right
always the
and
same?
left.
Is it
I,
always the same size?
I believe so.
Hmm.
I have to look more into that.
Otherwise, you start, getting whales in that one original series Star Trek episode.
Oh gosh. So one of the easiest ways to identify these whales when they come to surface is that they have a singular ridge on the top of their head, and this is often a way to tell some of the big whales apart is how many ridges they have on their heads. This is different from bride's whales. Again, bride's whales. Bride's whales have three, whereas Omura whales only have a singular one. Now, normally I talk about threats and interesting information. We don't know much about these whales at all. They are data
Mhm.
deficient. They are very, very like relatively new. We don't know anything about them really, other than
Mhm.
what we've
And
specified so far.
I think you could probably safely say that the threats that face them are the same threats that face all bride's whales, and they're related to species and all, for a lot of the same, same reasons that aren't, geographically, specific, and just threats to, you know, wildlife in general.
Just okay, so just to be clear, Amara's whales are not bride's whales.
Hmm.
Despite how many similarities we made to them,
They're cousins,
they're cousins.
which is why I said bride's whales and their cousins.
Not all brides. Wait, no, not all whales are bride's whales, but all bride's whales are whales. Okay, so I think that's it. I think that's it
Yeah,
for this month. Um, we will probably be coming out with a more revised format for the podcast as of next month.
it's a continuing experiment and evolution
Yeah, because
of the
we
process.
keep trying to get the podcast after an under an hour. We had,
You know?
by the way, for this podcast, we definitely had enough content for at least 2.5 hours.
Mhm.
We've decided to leave something to another time. So,
Yep.
so yeah,
Oh, all right. Well, I've had fun today. It's been great discussions, and thank all of our listeners and viewers out there. And I hope we'll see you again next month as well.
keep going. I'm looking for the command.
Oh yeah, and while Cravone is looking for the command, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave us a comment. If you have any questions, please
We
definitely leave them in
we
the comments.
we want questions.
Yep. If you want to catch us live, check out Carvone's Twitch channel. It'll be in the description or in a comment below, and you can come hang out with us, and you can ask questions, live in chat if you want, and we'll do our best to answer them if we're able to.
We have social links above my head. It's been going through the entire video. That's GeoFits. Um, Previously it was my Twitch channel. That's my Blue Sky. Um, so yeah, sure, putting my email address on there. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And so I've been Cravone. Um, he's been
I've been.
GeoFits.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Oh, there's a 10-second warning. Uh, turn on. Okay, there, done. Done.